Nerd alert! Learning is important, right?
Yes, exactly. What a bunch of nerds.
Nerd alert!
Right. Hello, and welcome to The Marketing Architects, a research-first podcast dedicated to answering your toughest marketing questions. I'm Elena Hengel. I run the marketing team here at Marketing Architects, and I'm joined by my co-host, Rob DeMars, the Chief Product Architect of Misfits and Machines.
I'm excited to learn today, Elena.
I'm excited too. We're back with a new additional weekly episode format we're calling Nerd Alert. We're having so much fun producing this podcast and have received great feedback on the research-driven mission of the show, so we wanted to test sharing 2 episodes a week. We'll continue with our regular show on Tuesdays, but we'll add this extra show on Thursdays for a while and see how it does. So, what's a Nerd Alert? It's made for our fellow marketing nerds who love marketing research. Each week, I'll read an academic marketing paper or study and then try to explain it clearly and succinctly in a short podcast episode. This idea came from a problem I personally had with marketing research. It's not that we don't have enough of it. There's actually an overwhelming amount available to us, but a lot of it is super lengthy and complex, and as busy marketers, what we really need are quick summaries and practical takeaways. I know this idea must resonate with some of you because it won handily when I ran a poll with some additional episode ideas on my LinkedIn a couple weeks ago. And Rob will join me on these episodes. He's going to listen to the research summary and post questions or ask for clarification where it's needed.
Yeah, and asking for clarification is my specialty.
Yes, exactly. He's coming in blind, so he has no idea what the study's about, what we're covering, so we're going to get his honest reaction in real time, which should be fun. Well, let's just get into it. It was very easy for me to find research to cover on this show and in these episodes, but it was not so easy to pick the first one, but I believe that I found the perfect piece of research to start with. Quick disclaimer, we're talking about all of this under fair use. We also purchased this report and we'll link to it in the episode notes. The title is Research in Marketing Strategy. This was published by the Journal of the Academy of Marketing Science in 2019, and its authors are Neil Morgan from Indiana University, Kimberly Whitler from UVA, Hui Fang from Iowa State, and Simos Chari from the University of Manchester.
I went to college with Neil.
Yeah? Did you actually?
I did.
No.
No.
Sorry. I'm so gullible. I'm like, oh, wow. So I thought this was a good one to start with because it's about marketing research in general, and that's what we're going to be covering. So let's get into the study. It begins by acknowledging that marketing strategy is core to every brand success, but marketing strategy research is extremely challenged. There's an increasingly limited number and focus of studies on marketing strategy research, and these authors think that needs to change. And why is that? Well, when reporting top challenges CMOs face, many are marketing strategy related. Questions like, should we insource versus outsource? And what are new approaches and brand strategies that we need in this multi-stakeholder world, etc. There has been an increase in strategic marketing research, aka the general field of study that looks at marketing's various impacts on the long-term performance of brands. But there's been a decrease in marketing strategy research. And that's a central construct within strategic marketing, which is basically, it's like what you'll do to get to that long-term performance. So it's important to understand that not all marketing strategy research falls under strategic marketing, but not all strategic marketing research involves marketing strategy. And Rob, if you're a little confused by that,
wow.
So am I.
I'm trying. I need a chart.
Yeah, we'll get into it. So these researchers, they wanted to do 3 things. First, they wanted to create a framework so they could evaluate the current state of marketing strategy research. Then they wanted to break it down further by looking at the subdomains of marketing strategy. And then they shared ideas for future research that could help fill this gap that they found. So the authors of the study, they define marketing strategy as an organization's integrated pattern of decisions. These decisions are about important choices related to products, markets, marketing tasks, and marketing resources. What research did they look at? Well, they narrowed down academic journals to just 6 to review, and they looked at research from those journals published from 1999 to 2017. And they had a lot of criteria that helped them narrow down to just 257 marketing strategy articles.
Oh my.
I know.
Just 217.
257.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Which I won't get into how they did that because it will take too much time, but trust me, it's thorough. So they looked at all these articles, and here's what they found. Almost 95% of these papers were not strategy papers. The largest category of marketing papers were studies of marketing tactics. And the ratio of marketing strategy versus all other types of papers was clearly trending downwards. There's been a general decrease in the use of primary data and an increase in the use of secondary data. And there's been more empirical papers, less conceptual and qualitative papers. So we'll come back to the conclusion of that data in a moment. Do you remember the marketing strategy framework I mentioned earlier? Let's talk about that. The framework from the study breaks down marketing strategy into 4 main parts. The formulation and implementation of marketing strategy, so that's more of the doing parts. And then the content and process aspects. That's more of the what and how parts. So they looked at this framework to make it easier to understand how companies plan out and carry out their marketing activities. So you've got those 4 buckets. The first is formulation content. This looks at what marketing strategies are about. That might include decisions on products, prices, promotions, and distribution channels. This is like deciding what to wear for an event based on the occasion. Then number 2 is formulation process. So this focuses on how these strategies are created. It involves the steps, activities, and decisions taken to come up with a marketing plan. This is more like planning how, when, and where you'll purchase that outfit for your event. The third category is implementation content. Here the concern is with actions taken to put the marketing plan into effect. If formulation content is about deciding what to wear, implementation content is actually getting dressed and going to the event. And then finally, the fourth one is implementation process. This looks at how the strategies are executed, including the management and coordination of activities to make sure the plan works out as intended. This is like following through with your outfit plan for the event by purchasing everything you need to. One interesting tidbit from this, they separated all the research into these 4 categories, and they found that formulation process marketing strategy content, which is more how strategies are created, had the least amount of research behind it. So, high-level takeaways. Research has been more skewed towards marketing tactics, not marketing strategies. Almost half of the papers published from 1999 to 2017 were logic or data-driven, and that trend is increasing. Qualitative research approaches are rare. And it's important to remember that conceptual and qualitative papers are more likely to lead to new marketing theory. So theory development in marketing strategy research is increasingly rare. This is a cause for concern because we're already lacking original marketing theory and depending more on secondary data. They finish up by listing a lot of ideas for much needed marketing strategy research, which I won't get into because these episodes are meant to be short. I don't know if this report made a difference in the type of research that's published, but from my own experience as a marketer, I'm not surprised that research has become so data-driven and empirically focused because this lines up with trends we see with day-to-day marketing. I love how they framed up the why versus the what and why that gap is a problem, why we might need more marketing theory. The frameworks were really hard for me to understand. I had to put them into ChatGPT like 7 times, and I still don't really understand them, to be honest.
Did ChatGPT give you the clothing
Yeah,
metaphor?
could you tell that came from ChatGPT? Like, talk to me like I'm a high schooler. I think that was like the prompt. And then I went down to 8th grade. Like, it just didn't get any better. But finally, they talked about how there's less primary data, and they didn't say why secondary data was bad, but I'm guessing that means because there's less new up-to-date data being shared.
In some ways, I'm kind of not surprised because I feel like the marketing community as a whole, we're often more interested in short-termism as it relates to how do I need some research that's going to help me kickstart this bad boy versus, the long game. And I know we have a lot of conversations around that even in our podcast. So the fact that the research community has sort of followed that ball more in some ways kind of makes sense.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And I think it also lines up with what I've been feeling and seeing. And it makes me a little nervous for the project of this podcast is trying to find more takeaways for marketers. And one thing the researchers said is there's a reason why there are such clear thought leaders in marketing effectiveness and principles we go back to. And some of them are from a long, long time ago, but there's not a lot of new theory being put forward. And it's funny, I'm trying to plan out these next few episodes and what research we're going to look into. And a lot of it is very, very tactical. So it's not easy for marketers to find new theory. And so we're leaning on older research, and consumers are changing. The way we go to market is changing. And a lot of the principles are timeless, but it does make you think. Like the fact that we haven't had new research into theory seems like a problem.
Right. No, it's so funny when you hear, well, according to a study from the late 90s, And at first I'm like, well, that's pretty current. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. That's when I just graduated from college. Like that's actually, and I'm old. So that's a long time ago.
Yeah. So much has changed. Now we have AI and like everything's going to be changing more. And it also made me think of, we had Mitch Olson, who is a professor at Notre Dame. We had him on a few weeks ago, and he talked about in the US, the rigor everyone has to go through to publish research. And it made sense. I'm thinking, well, I guess it's maybe easier to get more data-driven research published and more empirical research, because conceptual, some of it is, it's like marketing's an art and a science. And some of that's the art of making assumptions and theories. And I would imagine it's a lot harder to get that published.
Peer review stuff where people get challenged it more. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So I'll do my best to find research in the next few episodes that is theory-driven, but it sounds like it's not going to be an easy task. That's it for this episode of The Marketing Architects. We'd like to thank Ayana Klaphocky for producing the show and Taylor De Los Reyes for editing. You can connect with us on LinkedIn, and if you find the show valuable, please leave us a rating and review. And if you'd like to hear more from us, subscribe to our weekly email newsletter. It's built for marketers seeking research-first analysis of the latest trends. You can go to marketingarchitects.com/newsletter to subscribe. Now go forth and build great marketing. All right, so Rob, you think I did a pretty good job?
Super interesting.
You got it.
That was super
perfect.
That was super fun. Can we do this again?
Yeah, we'll do it again next week.